Boys, we're down there by the creek up by the spring, you know what I'm saying? What's up, my dude? Spring Creek 2024. Let's see if this track is exactly copy and pasted version of last year's Spring Creek. It's looking like it. Yes, it is. Bro, I mean, damn. First of all, what the hell is this tiny ass scaling through here? Exactly like last year's Spring Creek. I don't understand what you're even paying for with this new 2024 Pro Motocross DLC, MX versus ATV. What the hell are people paying for? If it feels like the exact same track, what are they paying for? This doesn't make any sense. You are copy and pasting your tracks and selling it again. That is exactly what you are doing. Let's not play and pretend. Spency boy, don't get me rapping in this thing, man. Don't even start all that. Okay? The best thing you can do when you go look at one of the new Pro Motocross replica tracks, the absolute best thing you can do is go ride on last year's track right before you go ride on the new track. And that will tell you everything you need to know. It'll tell you how similar it is. In MX Simulator's case, it'll tell you how much worse the newer track is, okay? It's one thing when they just copy and paste it, you know, and it's the exact same track as the last year, right? It's another thing when they start making all the pre-made smaller, making the ruts smaller, making the berms smaller, taking the berms away, making the tracks even tighter. You know, that's what they're doing on the MX Simulator Pro Motocross tracks right now compared to last year. They can't even make them as good as they were last year, right? Whereas MX vs. ATV just seems to be directly copy and pasting last year's Pro Motocross tracks, okay? I don't really understand why there's not a whole lot more people talking about this. You know, Spency Boy will tell you exactly. Like I have been from the jump. I done kept it real from the jump, man. Like, this is kind of some bullshit right here. I'm not gonna lie to you. I mean, this is just... I'm telling you, I just went road on last year's Spring Creek. It is literally basically the exact same shit. So basically what's going on here is, like, the way that MX vs. ATV is doing it with Legends, they'll change something if it's actually like a whole new section. You know, let's say they change a whole area of the track compared to last year's. Well, they'll give you that. But if nothing has been changed, they're not changing anything. They're not changing any of the pre-made, like where the ruts are placed. They're not changing the scaling. They're literally not changing anything. Do you see what I'm saying? I mean, it's like, that's a whole nother level. Whereas what MX Simulator, the RF, is doing right now is, if there's like a new change to the track in 2024, they're not giving you that. They're giving you last year's version of the track, which is obviously dog shit in the first place, but they are changing the pre-made at least a little bit. Whereas MX vs. ATV is not changing the pre-made, like the rut size, roughness size, berm size. They're not changing any of that. At least RF is changing it. The problem is they're just changing it down the wrong direction. They're going down the wrong way with it. They're making all the pre-made smaller again, and the ruts smaller again, and smoother again, and flatter again. You know, smoothing out flat track and highway and the berms again, right? So that's kind of your comparison between what both of those different things are doing. Listen, this is not difficult to understand, man. All of you different track makers for Legends or RF or MX Bikes, I don't think MX Bikes is having as much of a problem as this. I haven't really looked too deep into bikes compared to last year's aerial tracks, but let me know down in the comments. But, you know, the blueprint to this shit, Spency Boy's got to explain this to you because y'all still don't seem to understand it, okay? If something changes on the track map, then you would add that new section, or you would change that new section however you're supposed to do for the new track. That's, you know, what would make it that new 2024 Pro Motocross track, okay? But if nothing has been changed, there's still a lot that you can change to create a new track. And I still see idiots comment this shit like, well, Spencer, it's the same track map as last year. What are they even supposed to change, bro? Well, then what the hell are you paying for if it's the same exact track? Oh, gee, I don't know. They can change the scaling. They can change where the ruts are placed, you know? And if anything, you don't want to make the ruts smaller, because I've not seen a single one of these Pro Motocross replica tracks that have ever had too big of pre-made ruts or berms. That's just never happened in the history of ever, okay? But that's the blueprint to it. You know, if something's been changed, you make the updated change to it, and then you go in there and you make small tweaks to the scaling so that it actually feels like a new track in the game, okay? And you also go in there and you change where the ruts are placed. You don't make the ruts smaller, RF, you know what I'm saying? You don't smooth all the berms out. That's not what I mean by change the pre-made. I mean, you go in there and, like, instead of having, you know, like right here in this corner, for instance, you see there's one rut on the inside, one big berm on the outside. Well, they could make it where there's like 4 ruts in this corner instead of 2, and change where they're placed and change the character of it where maybe those ruts extend all the way into this jump face instead of like not. You see what I'm saying? You play around with the character of it. Like right here, maybe last year's track didn't have any ruts on this jump face. Well, you could make a lot of pre-made charactered out ruts and kickers on the jump face of this year's track, therefore making it a new track even though it didn't have any track map changes. That is one of the dumbest excuses and things that I have ever seen. Like, oh, well, the real life track didn't change, bro. Oh, so you can see exactly where every single rut is placed on the track map? You can see exactly where every rut and berm and exactly the size of it, and, you know, gee, I don't know, the scaling is all just a perception thing. It's all in how you want to actually implement that into whatever particular moto game that you're talking about, you know? The scaling is something that can always be changed. Even if that real life track never gets changed, you can still always play with the scaling and the pre-made, the rut placement, some jumps having ruts on the jump base, some of them having more ruts in the corners. Like this corner right here, you see how it's got 3 ruts that go all the way up to this jump face. First of all, this is some of the smallest, stupidest one-to-one bullshit, smaller than one-to-one motherfucking scaling. What are you doing, MX versus ATV, right here? This would have been your opportunity to fix this a little bit from last year's track. Why is this a motherfucking trail track level, you know, narrow right through here? I have no idea. This is not real-life motocross. This is an arcade dirt bike game. Get your shit together, bro. Ski. Okay? They could have made these jumps a little bit bigger. Let me jump over that tree. Fuck, man. You got the scaling so small. Shit's just so goofy. Like, they have the scaling so small that does not feel like a long roller section. This doesn't either. These are not rollers. These are not big sand Millville rollers, dog. Like, it's just not even remotely giving you that sort of vibe. So it's like, it almost adds insult to injury whenever they just copy and paste their last year's track, when their last year's track wasn't even really good. The scaling on it's way too small. There's so much more pre-made rut opportunity that could be going on here. See what I'm saying? Like, this is just ass. I mean, you know... But that's how you do it. Like, you don't make the pre-made smaller. You don't smooth shit out. You know, if anything, you would just add bigger ruts or bigger berms here and there, or bigger ruts on a jump base, or bigger braking bumps, bigger scaling, you know, bigger House real big, cars real big, belly real big, T-glass real big, everything real big. You need to get this shit bigger.